It's time for KC Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice, and we're telling the stories of Kansas City nonprofits and the people behind them. KC Cares is the intersection of the nonprofit and profit communities, making Kansas City a better place to live, work, and play. This KC Cares segment is brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, www.kaufman.org. I'm Ruth Baum-Biggis. The greater Kansas City area is home to a sizable Latino community, and it continues to grow. In the early 1900s, many found their way to Kansas City, Missouri's west side. Life was hard and discrimination was rampant. Yet there were many needs to be met, and answering the call was a Catholic women's club that created a volunteer school and a clinic. And that was the birth of Guadalupe Centers, one of the first social service agencies for Latinos. Guadalupe Centers continues its mission of lifting up the lives of Latinos in Kansas City through robust programming, services, and much more. It is the longest serving Latino-based organization in the United States. And today we welcome Guadalupe Centers Chief Executive Officer, Beto Lopez, to talk about the many things happening at Guadalupe. Beto, thank you so much for joining us. You're a busy guy, so we appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Did I do good diligence with the kind of the history of the beginning? You all have been around for just a hot minute for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why I tell people often I don't take myself serious. I take our mission, what we do here, very serious. And it's a long legacy of services and impacting lives of humans every day for quite some period.
Well, I'd like to start often with the story behind the CEO, who's the person in charge. How was it that you came to Guadalupe Centers? How were you first introduced to it, and why did you come?
Yeah, so my actual role of what I do now as CEO and leading the organization, quite sincerely, was the last thing on my mind to be in this environment, this role. From a career perspective, I spent the first 28 years of my career in the private sector, in the areas of commercial real estate brokerage and commercial lending, but have known of this organization since my childhood. I grew up around some of the youth programs, both summer and after school type programs, and as I developed my career and started our family, I was also involved as a volunteer board member for many years, but had never worked here nor have worked in the not-for-profit world.
So what drew you in?
Oh, I think, a lot of times you think you have life figured out and careers. And I tell a lot of young people that, including my own children, that, at the end of the day, you just have to do something that you're passionate about, which obviously I have been passionate about Guadalupe my whole life. But as far as what happened was, we sit here all day and probably drink a whole pot of coffee for me to explain the whole situation. But yeah, I was right. It was 2018. I had transitioned from banking and I was doing back to commercial real estate brokerage and development with the partner. And Guadalupe has been in a growth pattern for the last 10 years. Much of it primarily because of the growth of our schools, our charter school system. So we've acquired quite a bit of real estate. And at that time, the CEO felt that he needed some help with some project management we had some capital improvements on some of the new properties we were acquiring. And, they needed some help, people. And that was my background. So I helped him shore up some project management on some properties we had purchased within the past few years and helped him with some financial structures on some of our loans for our properties. And it started more so as a consultant role. It's going to be short term. Within 6 months, I was chief operating officer. And so that's how I was introduced and welcomed into the not-for-profit world.
So careful what you do as a board member. Sometimes, you know what, you get pinned to come all the way in.
Yeah, no, I tend to have the perspective that, I've served on many civic type boards, community boards, and I know many people do that. Kansas City is a very giving community, obviously. There's many people that do these things that I've done. But obviously you do it for the right reasons. You believe in the missions and the core values of those organizations and missions of those entities. For me, yeah, I mean, it was an easy transition because I know what Guadalupe stands for. And I take it on as a big challenge. The not-for-profit world is very challenging, much different and from that perspective than the private sector. But I took it on, and I felt like COVID happened, and my predecessor was impacted health-wise. Thankfully, our board and he had conducted some strategic planning and some succession planning, and they identified myself as a person that could help during a short-term situation, not knowing that we had this unfortunate pandemic. And so I served as interim for a year. And that's really where I gained a whole different perspective and understanding how this non-for-profit world works, and specifically how it relates to our mission here, and the legacy that we have. And it was a good precursor for me to throw my hat in the ring and be considered for the permanent position. Yes, and we've hit the ground running. We've been on a fast-paced growth mode for the last 3 years.
Yes, the pandemic. What a time for everybody, and nonprofits I know were particularly challenged. You mentioned that was kind of a good, almost an internship for you, a crisis time. How did you find that role of being an interim CEO? It's always kind of a strange kind of a world, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't wish that upon many people. It's a very challenging, personally challenging experience, because you're looked upon as someone that obviously they value your pedigree and your expertise in management, or whatever your strengths are. But at the same time, you're not the person, you're not the guy or the woman that's supposed to be there permanently. And so it's an uneasy feeling and kind of uncomfortable feeling. But at the end of the day, you have to stay focused again on what the mission at hand is, and that's what I try to do during that interim period. Um, COVID created a lot of uncertainties and made everyone uncomfortable. Guadalupe was no different. At the end of the day, we stay focused on impacting the students that we serve through our schools. Like most other school systems, we went virtual. And so, and then the families that we serve, they're in many cases the parents of who have students within our school system. A lot of them, as you said earlier in your intro, Guadalupe's focus has been the Latino population, and a lot of the families that have children in our schools, as far as career sectors, work in those hospitality and restaurant industries. And so they were out of jobs. That was the industry that was impacted the worst. And so we just like you do in the private sector, I say this often. I have a business background, and the stronger survive. Those that truly are flexible and just determined, and again, stay true to your mission and your focus. Those are the ones that survived probably and came back much stronger after the COVID experience. And I'd like to say that I had a big part of it, but I have a good team as well, and I have a very supportive board of directors. And it was a combination of all of us, pulling together and just staying focused. We got through that period, and I think we came out stronger for that. We were able to, though we, over a 100-year period, this organization has definitely changed. We stayed focused on the core mission, but we knew we had to try different approaches on how you execute some of these services and programs, and we did, and we're very proud of that, and use that as a base or a foundation for us to, be more sustainable down the road.
Well, congratulations to you for making it a pandemic positive. There were nonprofits, as we all know, that didn't survive, businesses that didn't survive.
Absolutely.
But congratulations. Well, I want to get to the heart and soul of Guadalupe. And you mentioned your school system. So let's talk about that. Can you share a little bit how that operates? Who are your students? What's unique about your schools?
Yeah, so I think it's an amazing story. I think it was during my college years, I grew up within the original service area, the historic West Side neighborhood where Guadalupe started, as you said during your intro. And I remember vividly, both then and then today, it really, we haven't moved the needle that much more in the areas of Latino dropout rates from high school. And really, that was the impetus for the leaders at the time here at Guadalupe. They sensed a need to address this large dropout rate, fast-paced dropout rate among Latino high school students, and started an at-risk, you know, just last chance kind of opportunity for a GED or some kind of uh, education for some of these students that were failing in the traditional public school system. And they started with one instructor, 10 students in a old church basement down the street, and to where it started then over 30 years ago, and how far we've come. We are the largest charter school in Kansas City, pre-K through high school. We have over 1,700 students enrolled here this current school year, with a waiting list of over 500 students, and with zero marketing or efforts on our part. And it's just, I think at the end of the day, it's like in any environment, people have a comfort level and trust that a certain brand or a certain institution will have their back, and they can trust and believe in. And I think Guadalupe's brand, that is what the Guadalupe brand is. And a lot of families have relatives that already have students within our school system, and they want to be part of it. And so we have to meet that need. And so we behind the scenes are the ones that are caught up, working on acquiring additional properties or restructuring financing structures for the existing properties so that we can continue to grow, provide the services that we do each day at the schools with catering. We produce our own meals for our own school programs and our own senior programs, and we are the third party provider for outside schools as well and other social senior programs. So we try to help with a lot of the infrastructure and the services that support any school system. We do it in-house. And so there's a lot going on for sure behind the scenes to make sure all that happens. Yeah.
So the school's been in place about 30 years?
Correct. So yeah, probably about 22 years ago is when they actually became part of what is now called the charter school system. And
right.
Obviously we're publicly funded like any public school system. And so obviously the charter school structure, for many years, our charter sponsor was the University of Central Missouri, which was a great relationship, still is. But they decided to move into other areas and focus as far as higher education. And so we interviewed a couple other prospective charter sponsors and ended up with the Missouri Charter School Commission. And they've been our partner for almost 5 years now. And they have high standards, as it should be for education. And we welcome them. And we'd like to tell our partners there, our charter school sponsor, that we hold ourselves even to higher standards to make sure that our students truly are educated and there's progress and good use of taxpayer money. So we want to make sure taxpayers feel there's a return on human investment.
Have you been able to knock at that dropout rate that you spoke about?
We're doing our part, obviously, and I tell people often, in anything you do, you control what you can control. And we'd like to say that, we're impacting, citywide, statewide, or nationwide, those dropout numbers. But within our school system is what we truly can control. We have a very effective and engaged board of directors, and our focus to make sure that the students and the teachers have the right resources. And yes, we are graduating our students. And, in today's society, there's always been the debate of, whether it's true higher education opportunities or some kind of a trade, workforce, vocational trade. And right. I'd like to say that absolutely, I would say we have more than 90% success rate in making sure our students have some path after they leave our high schools.
Well, congratulations to you. We're talking to Beto Lopez. He is CEO of the Guadalupe Centers. He's taken part in their programs, and now he leads the organization. So we've talked about the charter school and that part of your mission. Talk to us a little bit about other things that you're doing, because you touch the community in many, many ways.
Yes, absolutely. So, Guadalupe, the thing I feel most proud about, and I think as an organization we do, as you said, we've been around quite a few years, 107 years to be exact. And the initial focus or intent of the original founder, the Amber Club, specifically the one specific family, the Gallagher family, was they saw a need with these immigrants at that time, to help them have better access to education and good health care. And we're proud to say those are still a big part of our focus. And society changes, things evolve, population shifts, occur within any community in this country. And so you have to adapt to that. And I feel like we've done a good job to do that. A lot of the Latino population, when you see the gentrification that's going on in this old historic West Side neighborhood specifically, but in many urban areas across the country, you have to somehow meet that need and address that shift in population. And most of the Latino population, especially the newer immigrants, are moving into the more non-traditional Latino areas, more African American kind of populated areas on the east side and the northeast neighborhoods. And so we noticed that very easily, that our student population, they came from those areas. And so that's why we made investments and a true effort and emphasis to move physically into those geographic areas, and have invested in purchasing quite a bit of property in those areas to meet those needs. And yeah, it's not just education. We'd like to think that, cradle to grave, we help children. We really do, and up to our senior adult programs, which we've offered for many, many years. And you continue to just evolve and enhance some of these programs and services. The traditional social service programs will never deviate from those, which are, food pantries and utility and rent assistance programs. And there's very limited resources in those areas. So we have to be very strategic and proactive in helping develop partnerships. And that's the other thing that I really advocate quite a bit. I think from my experience in the private sector, when you're competing against another commercial real estate company or another commercial lender, that is competition. You're competing for the same customer or client. In the not-for-profit world, I tend to look at things a little different. I think that, we all have certain strengths, and I think we tend to stay within our own, zones and areas of strengths. And I think collaboration is very critical, to partner up with other organizations that have other strengths. But we tend to stay in our own lane, and we bring in other partners when we need to, ultimately to help the same people in Kansas City, and bring different resources and pulling them together. So yeah, we do. Workforce is a big thing. We also notice from our school system, much of this newer growth has derived from what we observe with families and, that are involved in the school system, and our instructors, our teachers. When our school leaders are out on the recruiting trail, trying to recruit teachers to come teach in the urban core, that's quite a challenge. Number one, on a new teacher's salary, where are you going to live that's somewhat affordable and safe? And the perception, that being one. The other one, as we're out in the, smaller communities recruiting, from different colleges and universities, the idea of moving into a larger city is also intimidating. So we felt like we could maybe help that a little bit. And so we are we got our first LIHTC workforce housing project approved last year. And it's under construction currently on our campus at Truman Road in Van Brunt. And so it's a 50-unit uh, development apartment complex that will have nice amenities and be a safe environment for teachers. That's our focus, teachers, although not limited to teachers, any workforce, individual or small family that qualifies. But that should be up and going by summer of 25. And so we're very excited about that as well, because we're going to address another need, right? Housing,
Yes, housing.
affordable housing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, that is so cool. What a great opportunity. Years ago, I was a teacher, and boy, that would have had a great appeal, as well as kind of a unique school system that you offer them to work in.
And it's not
You
just for
had,
our students, our teachers, it's for teachers, any teacher in any public school, any school system that focuses on the urban core. It's open to anyone.
that's
Yeah.
exciting. How we can't wait to see and hear and everything as you open those doors. I wanted to go back to one area you talked about, and that's serving older adults. And there are more and more. The baby boom generation is coming into that category. What kinds of things have you seen in terms of needs, and how are you tap dancing to meet those needs?
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously our focus has been and continues to be to serve the Latino population, but we serve anyone. But when it comes to seniors, we're no different than any other part of Kansas City or any other community across the country where you see a lot more mental health challenges.
Mm.
And in urban core areas, you also have very limited senior housing opportunities. And so we see that with the participants we have on a daily basis. And so we're exploring ways to help address those things. We do partner up with other mental health counseling type organizations that can provide this support and these services to our senior adult population. And like I said, one thing we've done very well for many years, we have our daycare operation, which we're also renovating and improving for our seniors to give them a better experience. But we provide our catering. We have contracts with Mid-America Regional Council, and we produce meals for our own senior programs and others in the Kansas City area, across state lines on the Kansas side as well. So
That's wonderful. Well, those are those partnerships you talked about. Uh, you know, making the right connections at the right time for the right things. We should tell everybody you bring your commercial real estate background and management, because you all have 12 facilities that you run, operate. Wow.
yes, we're spread out geographically within Kansas City, Missouri proper, as far west as almost state line here along Southwest Boulevard, and almost to the city limits on the east side on 435 along Truman Road. So we have the large campus over on Truman and Van Brunt. That campus alone has 12 properties. I haven't
Wow.
really checked with our facilities people recently, but I think at one point, we had over 300,000 square feet of space that we manage ourselves, and make sure that more than anything, especially the schools, they are the safest environments for our students. As we know, there's challenges with security all over the country, not just urban areas, anywhere. And so we take security and the safety of our children and all people that we serve very serious. And so, that's a lot of real estate to manage. And I feel from that perspective, to your point, absolutely, my background has helped us here as we continue to grow and explore, more growth for sure.
Well, I know you operate at this level, running this robust organization. Bring it down for us. Is there a story you can share? The human touch of your organization, something that stands out to you as the leader.
I can give you many examples. And I, having grown up having grown up around Guadalupe, within Guadalupe, I guess I'm a living example of how investing in humans, and in my case, children, does work. It works. I'm a living testimony to that. And for me, it's when you have the children that are in our early childhood center, for example. and we have the only true dual language program in the Midwest that I'm aware of.
Wow.
And starting at that age and those formative years, right, with early childhood education, to see many of those progress and evolve within our school system. And when you go to a graduation, and you see many first time, high school graduates, first time, student going to college prospects, and you see the just the smiles on their parents' faces and their grandparents that attend the graduation. That's when you realize, wow, what we're doing, that it's all worth it. Yeah, all the, behind the scenes, there's a lot of, just like in any environment, there's a lot of work
Right.
going on, and I won't say challenges, but that's when you know it's all worth it, and it's impacting people to just become better citizens and humans within this community, and hopefully impact other parts of the country as well. So yeah.
We should let our audience also know you wear many hats. You mentioned board members. You serve on the Lee Summit City Council. I know you have family and those commitments. What's your secret sauce? How do you balance all of that and keep things moving?
Oh, it's sometimes at the end of the week on a Friday afternoon or evening, my wife's like, we're both exhausted, but
I bet.
feeling good about the week. I mean, I think anything you do, if you don't do it for the right reasons, and truly to help others, um, even if you're in the private sector, as when I was a commercial realtor or banker, um, I did it because I genuinely wanted to help somebody better their situation. And in those cases, it was with real estate or business. Same here. Anything I do, my role at Guadalupe and the impact we have here, which is a large reach, in my role in Lee Summit,
Mhm.
people ask me often, why would you want to do that? I didn't set out to be, I'm not crazy about the word politician, but I guess when you're an elected official, that's what you are. And in that community as well. Ironically, it was around the same time that I joined Guadalupe that I first got elected in Lee Summit, and I've served with, in a humble, with honor way out there, and we're the fastest growing city within the state of Missouri, and my background in real estate and development has I think played a role out there, and we just yeah, I mean, you got to feel good about what you're doing, and if there's results, and that motivates you to keep going and gives you more energy to keep going. And are you impacting human lives? I feel like in those roles that I am, and that's a secret sauce for me. And have a good team. You have to have a good team, both people that from top to bottom with my Guadalupe environment. Um, I there's no way humanly possible for one individual to impact that many lives and have the success that we're having at Guadalupe, but also in Lee Summit. I do have a leadership role. I served as mayor pro tem all consistently all 7 years that I've been in there in as an elected official, and um, we have a good group of council colleagues. The mayor is very supportive, and so yeah, you just kind of rely on people like that, and they kind of help you make you look good, I guess.
Well, you look great. And I'll tell you, congratulations for everything that you're doing at Guadalupe Centers. What a wonderful transition from the profit to the nonprofit community, making that big impact. It's a heartfelt sector to swim in, but sometimes, as you know, can be challenging. But
Yes.
you're meeting the challenge, and we're so thrilled that you're there and making a difference in people's lives. And thank you for spending your time with Casey Cares.
I appreciate it. Thank you for your comments, kind words, and appreciate what you all do as well. I mean, it takes all of us. It takes a village, no doubt. And yes,
Absolutely.
our focus has been the Latino population, but we serve any resident of Kansas City and in the region, and it won't work unless we're all collaborating. And so we
Absolutely.
do value you all as well, and thank you for what you do. And hopefully, we're here another 100 years, and someone else will be talking about this down the road.
Absolutely. Thank
Yeah.
you for joining us for Casey Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice. We're produced by Charitable Communications, which is also a nonprofit. This Casey Cares segment was brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, www.kaufman.org. If you'd like to be a guest on Casey Cares, please visit our website, which is kccaresonline.org. Spread the love. Find us on Facebook and Twitter at Casey Cares Radio and on Instagram at Casey Cares Online. And don't forget, you can catch us Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. on ESPN, 1510 a.m. and 94.5 FM. Thank you for joining us on Casey Cares.